Hello everyone, Loremaster Sotek here, bringing you a replay. So, Romulandawg actually sent me a couple of replays that he had lying around, and most of them are extremely good fights, and I have to... Anyway, as I was saying, so Romulan I played in the Ever-Chosen Invitational 2, if you remember, where I took the second match from our series and put it up on... YouTube, which it was an interesting game. I'd say it gave me no small bit of credit, but Romulandawg's an excellent player, and I don't want anyone to think that I dislike or despise him or anything of the sort. I actually like Romulan. He's an excellent player, and he's really good at using terrain in all of his strategies, which I'm probably going to show a couple of his games, just because since he sent me games, that means I don't have to record my own, which is awesome. So, let's take a look at these lists here, even though these guys have kind of just jumped right into it. So, starting on this map, we've got, I think, 4 units of Marauder Horsemen. No, okay, so we got, what, 2 throwing axes? Yeah, 2 throwing axes and then 2 Marauder Horse Masters in the back. Then he's got a really fun item here, the Soul of Damnation, which is the Regiment of Renown Hellcannon. Not a pick you see a lot, from my knowledge, in super competitive play, but it is really powerful. And once the enemy gets close enough, it activates this really nifty ability called Soul Devourer, which I'm not sure what the range on it is. Oh, it's 200 meters. So if you get within 200 meters, its reload skill goes way up. Then he's got a front line of Chaos Marauders, up to 2 silver chevrons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. He's also got a unit of Aspiring Champions with a single chevron to act as a leadership buffer, and then 3 units of Chaos Trolls, which is a pretty interesting pick against High Elves, because High Elves have probably the most fire damage, reliably. Out of any faction. And then, of course, he's got Sartorial the Everwatcher as his general, which Sartorial, in my opinion, is honestly probably the best character in the game, or one of them. I actually think he could probably use with a little bit of debuff, just because he has this 60 missile resistance, 25 magic, and then he has a very large health pool, and he's unbreakable, which is also really nice. And, of course, he has Final Transmutation, which in the modern day, Final Transmutation is a very powerful spell. As for what he's up against, the High Elves have brought a pretty powerful army. He's got about, I think 3 units, White Lions with Krace, which will butcher their way through most forms of infantry. Then he's got the Swordmasters of Hoeth, and short of, I think, great weapons with chosen with great weapons, they are the best heavy infantry in the game when it comes to winning fights. Then he's got 2 spearmen, and then as is standard for most high elf players, he has 2 nobles on horses with Teclis. So Teclis is on foot in this build. And this is Xiphos, by the way, who is also a really excellent player. And then he's got 3 units Sisters of Avlorn, which are of course amazing. So let's hop into it. So the Hellcannon works really well against the High Elves, because competitive High Elf players aren't going to take bolt throwers, at least in a tournament. Like, you might see it in ladder, which can cause some problems, but you definitely won't see it in competitive tourney play. So the Soul of Damnation is going to have a really easy time picking on the High Elves here, and, you know, especially not only forcing the High Elves to engage, but the Soul of Damnation is going to tear through these expensive units. So we can see here Romulan's being pretty patient. He hasn't revealed most of his units yet. He has run forward to engage in a few lines. The trolls are taking a lot of heavy fire from these sisters, but their regeneration, while it makes them weaker to the fire, it is going to allow them to recover somewhat. So here Teclis throws down a net, and these guys just start getting crossfired, so they're done. Like, there's no way they're going to recover from that. But this group of trolls gets an excellent charge on these White Lions, and trolls are a perfect unit to counter White Lions with. They will tear them up. In the meanwhile, all the different Marauder units are coming out, and they're basically just charging into these easy targets, like archers and White Lions. You know, units that don't have charge defense, that way they can just run in, do some significant charge damage, and run back out. But you could tell because there were spears in here, and these guys pushed through too much, they took a little bit of damage. They're pulling back now. The noble's running back to take out the Hellcannon, which he'll be able to do pretty easily, but honestly, I think it's already got its value, killing 41 elves, most of them being Sisters of Avalorn and the Swordmasters. Meanwhile, the Marauder Horsemasters and the Throwing Axes are getting behind the High Elves in many places and are starting to throw things at them, which is not where you want them to be. I mean, and look at that. Even as that Hellcannon's slowly getting taken down by a noble, it's still doing a ton of damage. Unfortunately, he's not a great model to take out the Hellcannon with, because he's only a single guy, and he didn't engage in a good direction either. When you fight a Hellcannon, you always want to go around the back. That way you can get straight to the Chaos Dwarves. Because you'll notice here, he's only hitting one at a time. Like, they're literally filtering forward to fight him one at a time. All the while, the Soul of Damnation can keep shooting, which you really don't want that. So over here, the battle, it's a little bit in the Warriors of Chaos' favor, but it's looking really bad because the Teclis is done. He just got absolutely focused down hard by Sartorial and all his wicked magics. And Sartorial is an excellent combatant with 60 melee attack and 40 melee defense. He will just stomp all over most characters, or most caster lords. Because he just has ludicrously high melee attack for how big he is. And then, of course, the Noble's going to run in here and fight him, but the Noble has, honestly, worse combat stats. Well, they have an... oh, that's funny. They're actually reverses of each other. So the Noble has higher 60 melee defense and 40 melee attack, while Sartorial has 60-40. But the Noble does have an anti-large bonus. It's not going to help him enough, though. So Teclis is dead, and right now, in the way the auto-resolve meter is working in the current build, tends to mean that once all of your leadership is down, like, you're pretty much game overed. However, he does still have 2 nobles yet, so we haven't seen that shift yet. There's still about equal bodies on the field. The High Elves do have some really powerful units, but these trolls in particular are just going to keep coming back and healing, and Sartorial is still at like 80% health. And Sartorial can't lose unless he is taken down to at least 50 to 30% health, because he's unbreakable and he's a really scary combatant. Because he can cycle charge, he can cast really powerful spells like Final Transmutation, and this one even has Searing Doom, so he can actually like drop attacks on you. And he is and he causes terror, which is also just horrible for most armies. So he's got Searing Doom going off over there, which, you know, most people don't think too hard about as a pretty heavy damage spell, but like, right there, it helped do about 1,000 damage to those spearmen. For like, what, 5 winds of magic, I think? Let's take a look here. 6. I mean, that's super cheap if you can get the enemy to hold still. So at this point, the only thing holding the High Elves together is this double unit of nobles. But here comes the Final Transmutation, which he saved his magic for an excellent opportunity. And it's not an overcast version, but it's still going to do a colossal amount of damage. And between the magic doing damage, the trolls causing notable damage, surrounded by superior opponents, and the terror from Sartorial, they're all going to break. And with the leadership structure gone, it is game over. So good game to both combatants. Really was an excellent display of what the Warriors of Chaos can do, especially against armies that have more elite infantry. I mean, they can go with something like Chosen, but something that's very popular right now is seeing people take a lot of Marauders with high chevrons, so they have high leadership. And what they'll do is they'll just run in and they will butcher most other low infantry, like these spearmen. But they will hold out against harder infantry long enough to get in reinforcements, like rear charge from these cav units, or additional frontal charges from Sartorial and the Chaos Trolls. And the Soul of Damnation got 46 kills against really high tier infantry, being the Swordmasters and the Sisters. Like, this unit of Sisters, you could tell was getting focused by the cannon. Or it might have been this one, but one of these two, and they got so few kills. The Sisters just weren't able to get the job done that they needed to. And the crazy thing is, they had about equal bodies on the field. But that Hellcannon did a massive amount of damage before lines met, and despite the fact that the High Elves had way more infantry than the Marauders, they weren't able to take advantage of it by getting a full surround, because they had to worry about countering the Trolls and trying not to get overwhelmed individually by the Marauders. So, really well played to Romulandawg. He is an excellent player, And I do I do want to try and make clear that the game me and him had, our game 2, yes, it was very frustrating for me. But, you know, games like that don't define a player, even though I don't advise them. He actually sent me a replay of someone pulling a similar stunt on him. So what I honestly think it is just that tourney players tend to become what's a good word for it, numb to more to less to strategies that are not looked well upon. Because, you know, when you're playing in a tournament, which I've played in many, not recently outside of the Everchosens, but the thing about like hardcore tourney players is that there's a good chance you'll run into people who will play to win no matter what. And that's why we use really restrictive rules in like the Everchosen tourney where, you know, somebody has to attack and all that stuff. A lot of tournaments don't have that. So you have to play dirty because your opponent's going to play dirty. And that's just the way it is. Personally, I'm hoping that as the tournament scene becomes more mainstream, thanks to CA support and, of course, Turin and Italian Spartacus holding, you know, weekly flash tournaments, and then, you know, really heavy players like Gabo streaming a lot. I'm really hoping we can get more games like this one and less games like my second one versus Romulandawg, or the game he sent me where he had to fight against a very similar tactic. You know, where it's fun to watch while also really high levels of strategy and play. Because in my opinion, you know, the only thing that really matters about the tourney scene is how fun it is to watch. Like, it doesn't really matter what the skill level of the players is. What matters is that it's an entertaining form of media. And so, you know, as we progress forward into having hopefully more and more popular tournaments, you know, people that use, you know, like the typical stereotypical wood elf player who hides in the trees all game and refuses to come out so he, you know, so he can have his forest bonus and he's just shooting and not coming out, or the, you know, the famous Empire player who takes a heavy cav army and just runs around and refuses to engage except for on his terms. You know, I'm really hoping those will go the way of the dodo in professional quote-unquote play, or heavy, or, you know, popular tourney play, just because it's not fun to watch. So if you're watching this, do your best to be good at this game, but try to be good in a way that's fun. You know, take armies that have a theme, or maybe like you have an interesting balance between infantry, cav, and monsters, or you take kind of unusual stuff like a Hellcannon, or trolls. Like this is kind of an interesting Warriors of Chaos army, and this High Elf army is really good too. But so encourage each other to be better. But yeah, Romulan's a great player, and I'm really appreciative that he sent me some replays, so A, I could showcase him in some really interesting and fun games, and B, so that I don't have to record my own replays. So that saves me like 3 days worth of work. So, thank you all for watching. I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.